So we've been showing you images of the heartbreak and the outrage coming out of Ferguson, Missouri, all across the country, in fact. That's because this story stirs up so much emotion in people. Psychologist Erik Fisher is back with us to talk about some of those underlying issues taking place. What are those underlying issues? This is something that is going on in the community well before the shooting of Michael Brown. It is the complexity of that relationship between police and the community, correct?
Exactly. Well, it's not just police. It's how they have felt, how many African Americans and disenfranchised cultures throughout time have felt about people who are supposed to care for them. There's a lot of mistrust and fear that underlies this whole issue that people don't recognize, because people who are often in a position of authority feel like they have a pulse on the people and they feel like they're doing what's best for them. But when you don't have communication and you don't have understanding, and you haven't walked a mile in somebody's shoes to see what the conditions in their life are like for them, you have situations that can erupt very quickly. Fear and mistrust and betrayal often lead to anger, rage, hatred, because anger, rage, and hatred are protective emotions. Their job is to protect us when we feel threatened, and that's what I think we need to understand, is that anger doesn't come first.
So what do you do? How do you heal this community?
Well, what we have to look at is you have to reestablish trust. And to reestablish trust here, because it seems like there's so much mistrust for how the police department handled this, I think you need to either, the police chief has to acknowledge that there were some tactical errors made, that they need to work on healing together as a community. They need to bring in outside resources to help heal that community, or you potentially have to overhaul the whole situation. Because until you have a sense of trust, there are going to be people around there who are going to capitalize on people's fear, even from a criminal element, but also those who feel that they have no representation are going to represent themselves. And that's how revolutions get started. When people who feel victimized don't feel protected, they can either play the learned helplessness role and take the abuse, or they can become justified persecutors and react to protect their own interests.
Is that why you think we're seeing these images come out of Ferguson of looting, of some of the reaction being so intense, and in some cases violent? There have been many peaceful protests, but in some cases violent?
Yeah, because, well, you have to see that. What have they seen about people who are going to help them? So in some ways, people who loot, like I said, there's a criminal element to some of that. There's also an element that says, I need what I need, and I can't get those resources right now. So they feel justified in doing what they do too. And this is pandemic around the world when these situations happen. This isn't specific to this or this culture. So we have to realize that we have to see the wisdom in understanding emotions drive this. Emotions are driving the reactions. Emotions are driving how the people feel, react, and respond. And it's a long-term situation to really resolve this, because this is a generational issue.
Do you think that social media plays a huge role in how this has escalated so quickly and so rapidly? We've seen this in revolutions all across the world, that social media has driven it. Do you think that was the case here?
I wouldn't say it's driven it. I'd say it's been a piece of it. You know, we have all these pieces that contribute to an outcome, and part of my job as a psychologist and our job as psychologists is to look back and look at what led to the outcome so that we can prevent those situations from happening. Social media is definitely a piece, but I think, again, we have to see that there's a great deal of culpability in how people who are managing that situation could have managed it more effectively, which really needs to be a really close look at these situations.
Dr. Fisher, as always, great to have you, and thanks for your insight on this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.